Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome into the Fun and Fact Show. All right, I'm Erica Shante. You can find me on all social media platforms under that name, Erica Shante. Don't you forget it. All right. And, this is your weekly news updates with a twist. All right, guys, let's have fun today, and we're gonna do all of the good things while Hector and I talk about all of the Supreme Court rulings that happened on Monday and Tuesday, taking a dive, some deep, some kind of shallow, all right, but some deep dives into all of the rulings. And we're gonna go there. So I hope that you enjoy the Fun and Fact Show. And this is episode what, Hector?
26.
26, episode 26. Oh my gosh. Oh, I need to think of ideas to do for the Dirty 30.
Dirty 30.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. My wheels are spinning. So, with that being said, y'all, welcome to the Fun and Fact Show again. I'm Erica Shante. I am just a mom who has dreams and aspirations of being a political commentator.
And I am MAGA's worst nightmare, also political commentator, here to spread encouraging political information to get the average person more involved in their process for the betterment of society.
That was a lot of words, friend.
Yeah, I be saying words.
You do. All right, y'all. Well, again, welcome to the Fun and Fact Show, where I'm the fun.
And I am the facts.
All right, let's get into it. All right, Hector, which one you want to tackle first? I think we should start small, then go big.
I actually wanted to start with a quick little clip before we get into the heavy stuff, because these Scotus rulings, these Scotus things are heavy. I ain't gonna cap y'all. We have some wins, absolutely, but the majority of them, not so hot. So J.D. Vance, those of you who don't know, has been on his little book tour. He showed up on The View, spread a bunch of lies, showed up on this podcast, that podcast, another one where he talked about how he admired Richard Nixon and thought Watergate was not that big of a deal. Really cool stuff. However, what caught my eye recently is what he said about AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm so used to saying AOC that I'm like, damn, I almost blanked on what her middle name was. But he had some recent comments about her in regards to her potential 2028 run. And he thought that she was going to be the next nominee, the next Democratic candidate for president.
Oh, that's why they've been running with that stupid talking point saying that she's going to be the next one because of what he said.
Yep.
Okay.
It always tracks back to one of their talking heads saying it first because they don't really have a lot of their own opinions. Anyways, with that being said, let me crop some things out here because I don't want to get flagged. But this is what she had to say in response. She was recently asked upon walking out of the Capitol on what her position was about his comments. And crop this a little bit more. And then this is what she had to say. Start it over.
That he thinks that they are. J.D. Vance just said in an interview that he thinks you are going to be the leading Democratic candidate for president in 2028. What's your response to that?
I mean, I hope he is. That's what I'll say.
That he's a Republican nominee?
Yeah.
The Supreme Court ruled that trans
They are.
Ooh.
That's it.
He is.
That's all.
That's funny.
That's all I wanted.
That's funny. I take that two ways. How did you interpret that statement? Because I took that two ways.
So I took it two ways as well. We're probably thinking the same thing. Way number one for me is yes. And I hope that you are my opponent so I can drag you. Way number two.
Thinking that.
That's not what you were thinking? Oh, shit. Never mind.
I don't think AOC is going to be the candidate.
You don't think she's going to be the candidate?
No. What I was thinking is that she doesn't have any faith in him to actually be a formidable opponent to anyone. So if he's the candidate, then it's like a sure win for the Democrats. And then the second part of that is that you better hope you're the candidate, because from what I heard is Rubio.
Yeah,
so there's that.
There is that.
That's what I heard.
And see, that's the thing. Whether she's the candidate or not, I think she affirmed that in her statements, because ultimately she does not see him as the charismatic or big figure that Trump was to the Republican Party to be able to carry it on. I don't even think Rubio is, but at this point, I think Rubio would have a better chance, honestly.
Yeah, Rubio definitely would have a better chance. I think he's more affable and also personable, and he's actually politically savvy. JD Vance, on the other hand, he reminds me of like Romney in a sense, just without like the policies. But when it comes, Romney in a sense that he is a chameleon. He'll be whoever you need him to be. So
that part.
There's that.
I was going to start off with one of the Scotus cases in regards to the Hawaii ruling, and I believe it was Hawaii. They passed a law, and I think it was 2022 or 2023. And in that state, what the law was, it was that you obviously have your sensitive areas in the state. That's going to be schools, it's going to be beaches, it's going to be government buildings. But then for everything else, some private property and even public, what the law intended to do was you had to have the express consent of the institution, of the private owner, to step onto their land or premises or inside their building with a firearm. So it wasn't an open season where you can just assume, unless there's a sign posted outside, that you can just go into this establishment with that firearm on you. What they changed it to is that you needed their consent. Otherwise, you were basically committing a crime upon just going in without that consent. This is what Hawaii passed in light of a couple of different school pew-pewings, specifically after the likes of Uvalde and a few others that we had that year. And this was their attempts to curb gun violence. Of course, Scotus came up because it went up to the Supreme Court, and they struck that down. Not the entirety of the law, to be super duper clear, because I've been hearing a few different content creators kind of get that one wrong. It still protects those sensitive areas and everything else. But the specific provision that says that upon you walking into the establishment without that express consent, you would be committing a crime, and that is something that you can get charged for. They just said, no, that's unconstitutional. And I want to go ahead and read the specific language here and get this for you guys. Let me pull it up. Oop, I have the wrong one. I'm trying to find.
Interesting.
Here it is. So let me do this overview. This was the 25th, struck down a Hawaii law that requires gun owners to get permission before bringing a firearm into a store or other private property that's open to the public, delivering a setback for the gun control movement. It was 6-3 ruling, of course, because the liberal women on the Scotus court, on Scotus are quite literally holding democracy together. However, I have a position on this law that I'll share in a bit, and you guys may hate it. We'll see. Hawaii and 4 other Democratic-led states, California, Maryland, New York, and New Jersey, responded to that 2022 decision by limiting where in-public guns can be carried, as the nation remains divided over how to prevent mass shootings and other gun violence. Writing for the majority, Justice Samuel Alito said that Hawaii's law imposes severe restrictions on the daily activities of gun owners who may be barred from entering many places people routinely visit, such as gas stations, convenience stores, restaurants, barbershops, and laundromats. Quote, this regime hobbles what the Second Amendment protects, the right of Americans to carry arms for self-defense as they go about their daily lives. Alito wrote, we hold that the law is unconstitutional. The court's 3 liberal justices dissented. Today's decision makes one thing clear. The court's objective is protecting guns, not consistently preserving any principle of law, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote. In a statement, Hawaii's Department of the Attorney General expressed disappointment in the ruling, but said the state will continue to pursue common sense regulation on firearms consistent with the Second Amendment for the safety of our people. The High Court's decision doesn't affect Hawaii's outright ban on guns in some sensitive public areas, including beaches, parks, schools, and playgrounds. The justices limited their review of Hawaii's 2023 law, got the year wrong, 2023, to the state's requirement that gun owners need consent verbally, in writing, or through a posted sign before carrying a weapon into other places. Property owners have always had the ability to restrict weapons, but Hawaii and other states flipped the default, prohibiting guns unless an owner gives express permission, rather than allowing guns unless they're expressly prohibited. So there's a few people that were looking at this law as a L to firearm safety. And the reason why I would have a slight disagreement with that is because I understand the point of the law. And I understand that they're basically trying to curb this open season sentiments that we hold in the United States regarding people's firearms. It's actually kind of crazy, the gun culture that we have in the United States. However, I see the contention and I saw the arguments, because I do think, as a private business owner, as someone who has any type of property, if you do not want firearms on your property, if you do not want that open carry mentality,
you should be able to say so.
Precisely. You should be able to say so, and you should be able to put up a sign. So what this did, this just blanketed every single business, every single piece of land over the course of the entire state, in which case some people may be different to how they feel about firearms being on their property than the other. In which case, that's why I think it's the owner's responsibility to put up the sign. I personally think that the law just says you're inherently committing a crime upon walking into the establishment without that person's consent. I personally think that's burdensome. I think if I own a business and I put up a sign and it says no firearms, and then you walk through and you violate that, I can press charges against you. You can face a fine. You can face some days in jail. That is my responsibility. I think blanketing it across the state, I think that can lead to some serious issues. Like somebody, say, didn't have a sign up and didn't care. Or you walk into this business and they go, hey, you have a firearm on you. You're not supposed to have that. And that person just goes, okay, well, I didn't know that. I walked in because I thought it was fine. Why wasn't there a sign out? I just think it's weird to just kind of assume off the bat that you shouldn't be doing that. And I guess state's laws are state laws, but I do feel that one is burdensome. And I understand the Supreme Court ruling on that.
Okay. I mean, I get it. I get it. I just I have a concern when it comes to the Second Amendment and also the 10th Amendment about basically what the states are allowed to do in regards to making their own laws, because of the fact that when the court returns October 5th of this year, they're going to be hearing two cases, one out of Illinois, which is Veramontes versus Cook, and another out of Connecticut, which is Grant versus Higgins. Basically, they are going, it's a combined case, and what they're going to be doing is they're going to be challenging basically whether or not states and also local municipalities can place bans on semi-automatic rifles. So that's going to be very interesting, and that includes, of course, semi-automatic rifles includes like AR-15s. And as far as I understand it, AR-15s are the most common weapon that are used in school pew-pewings. So I'm okay with the ban on those. Like, you already have one, you have one. But if they want to ban it, then by all means, please. So the Second Amendment is definitely going to be on the table in the next Supreme Court session. So they'll hear those cases, and then they'll make a decision like they did this current summer. They'll make a decision in mid-2027, and we'll have to see what happens.
Now,
I think they're going to uphold the Second Amendment, of course, to like it shall not be infringed. And if they do so, that's going to like cause like about a dozen states and some additional municipalities, like major cities like New York, of course, Chicago, Los Angeles, so on and so forth, to have to change their laws.
Yes, I think that one's going to be concerning. The one that we're going to have over the fall, that one I'm very concerned about. Because I think we're just going to welcome in something that we wish at least trying to curb beforehand. And I think we need to be more honest as a nation to how radical some of these folks are with their firearms.
Yep.
Like, there's people who don't even want restrictions on like military grade weapons, like grenades and rocket launchers and all these different things. I just don't like the idea of us having to explore this up to the Supreme Court, or specifically not this Supreme Court. I don't think it's going to end well.
Yeah. This Supreme Court, in my opinion, has shown to be extremely, extremely biased. It's not typical of a Supreme Court to show as much partisanship as this one has. And I think that is something that everyone should be concerned about. And additionally, another thing is the idea that, two of the justices may consider retirement, Alito and Thomas, and that the Trump administration, like Trump in this Congress, could place someone else that's younger and even more conservative on the bench. Oh my gosh. Because think about it, while they have the majority in the Senate right now and also in the House, it would be best if a justice did retire right now, and then that way they would be able to place somebody else on the court And, we'd have probably another, 40, 50 years with a more conservative person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could happen, but we'll just have to see. I mean, why the hell was Thomas at the Senate this past week? Why was he on the Capitol?
Yeah. He said he was there taking a walk.
He was just taking a walk through the building, sightseeing.
That's what he said.
He's a liar.
That's what he said.
That's a lie.
Mind you,
Yeah.
they were talking about the trajectory. It looked like he was leaving Mike Johnson's office, in which case, what the hell were you doing? But
what were you doing there, sir?
Yeah, he had a face. That man is I have choice words for that man. Choice words.
That man hates the color of his gums because they black. That's it. He do. Like, he reminds me of one of those people, and I think I'll have to talk about this later when we start talking about birthright citizenship, and his little dissenting opinion that he did. But he is one of those people where I would actually say that a race card was played. And I don't even like using that type of phrasing, but that's what he did when he wrote that 91-page dissenting opinion.
6,000%.
Yeah. But I do want to get into the cases that they ruled on this week, because it was a lot. Like, decisions just kept coming down back to back to back to back to back. And of course, they saved, like the best for last, which was birthright citizenship. That was like the big ending one. 4th of July weekend coming up for those that celebrate. I do not. So that's happening. And so, like, we're going to... Like, it was like, ooh, let's do this one. Let's end with some fireworks. All right. But let's start with one of the first cases that they actually ruled on, which is Chattree versus the United States. This is actually stemming from a credit union robbery that happened in Virginia in 2019. And it was voted on 6-3 decision. And actually, the author of the majority was Justice Kagan. Let's see here. Clarence, Alito, and Gorsuch actually dissented. So that means that Kavanaugh, Barrett, and Chief Justice Roberts actually sided with the more liberal judges, which in this instance, of course, are Justice Brown Jackson, Justice Kagan, and Justice Sotomayor. All right. So basically what happened with this case, because I do want to provide you with some background so that you can be aware of what's actually happening here, is that a man did rob a credit union out in Midlothian, Virginia, and the police didn't have any suspects. So what they did was they used a multi-step geofence warrant and to compel Google. So to compel is a kind word. To force Google to search his vast location history database. And what it ended up allowing to happen is that the police were able to scoop up anonymous location data for every device within 150 meters, all right, during a 1-hour window. That means that if you were in this parameter, then your data was accessed without your permission, right? And what they were able to do is that they were able to, at the endpoint, filter down to basically find out who the suspect was. His name is Okello Chattree. That's why it's Chattree versus the United States. All right. And the reason that it made it to the Supreme Court is because the lower courts were actually deeply divided over whether or not this huge, massive digital dragnet that they use, this catch-all, constituted a Fourth Amendment search, because you cannot be illegally searched, right? And the basis behind it was that we as users technically allow Google to collect our data. So if we allow them to collect our data, it means that we can allow them access to it at any time and the ability to actually use it at any time. However, the court saw it differently and said that, nope, they can't do that because it is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, and we, in fact, do have a right to privacy. Again, the majority of opinion, Justice Kagan held the position that a person retains a reasonable expectation of privacy in their continuous cell phone location data, and that the court rejects the government's claim that the third-party doctrine applies to this case, stating that smartphone tracking is too pervasive to be considered voluntarily shared. Yep. One of her, something that she said within her majority opinion was cell phone users are not to be viewed as sharing private information with third parties, which then could be freely passed on to the government just by doing the ordinary things cell phone users do. So if I'm going to the strip club, I'm not giving them permission to know that I'm at the strip club. All right. That's not okay. I didn't want them to know that. They just so happen to know it because they always in my damn business. All right. And I always have to have my cell phone on me, just in case stuff go down. And if I stay the entire week at home, okay, that's none of their business either. And what I search is none of their business. But we know that they collect this information for marketing purposes, right? So there's that. So, and also there are some of us that actually opt out of using that information for marketing, because you can, in fact, opt out of it. It does not mean that the information is still not collected, though. So I'm just saying, guys. And of course, Alito expressed a dissenting opinion. All right. He said that he has deep concerns that the ruling restricts vital law enforcement capabilities. And Justice Thomas argued that Chattree did not have a property interest or a valid privacy claim over data owned and maintained entirely on Google's private corporate servers. But it's his information, though. It's his info. So he should be able to consent to whether or not that information can be used, all right, to capture him. You know what I mean? I'm just saying it's his info, okay? All right. And so what Alito said was the majority sweeping rule treats an expansive corporate data cache as a highly protected private sanctuary, blind to the reality that criminals utilize the anonymity of public spaces to execute their crimes. This blindsides law enforcement trying to solve violent offenses. No. I say no because, again, it's their information and they have to give explicit information to use it. Now, if it's one singular person that you're after, all right, it's like my mind, I don't see an issue with that. Track that one singular person's data, but people not involved have not given the express consent for their data to actually be used. So I think that the court ruled correctly on this one. Because there's that. Because, like, bro, what if this happens, right? What if they did this whole, like, this thing where they did 150-meter dragnet again, right? And in doing so, let's say, for example, you had some shit on your phone that didn't nobody else know about it, but because of this location services thing, all right, they, like, I don't know, maybe caught you in the midst of doing something, a crime or something like that. And then, like, you get caught up. And you would have got away with it if it wasn't for the goddamn server. Think about it. It made sense in my head.
Was it for the meddling government?
Yeah, there we go. I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for the feds.
It wasn't for the feds. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, so I agree with that ruling. I think that's a good one. We are losing more and more and more and more and more of our privacy on a daily basis.
Yeah, pretty much.
And specifically, these institutions having it, private institutions, for the most part, they're selling it to sell you crap on the TikTok shop or whatever. And then there's the ones who are selling it to, like, Palantir and all these AI super surveillance groups that are getting more and more contracts in certain regions. And then that's going to the government. And those contracts are specifically benefiting the likes of Trump's son's businesses and military contracts. And then that's going to a whole nother thing on how they sell the information to the FBI. And
can I tell you my theory?
What?
Okay, my theory is that, like, what they're doing is they collect all this data on us, not just to sell us stuff, all right, but to pretty much change our lives into subscription-based services.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, like, turn everything into subscription-based. Like, turn how you use social media into subscription-based, all right? Oh, and a good point has actually been made, the Patriot Act. the Patriot Act is what opened the door to all of this, unfortunately, pretty much giving carte blanche access to our private information, right? And I think that if they would have ruled in favor of this, all right, what would have happened is that there'd be no such thing as privacy anymore. All right, they'd be able to access our information when and where they wanted to without any type of consent and use that information against us. Because think about it. Remember, guys, when remember Hector, I keep saying guys, remember when the thing was happening where they were checking your cell phone when you were coming back into the country?
Yes.
All right. And like if you had anything like anti-administration, disadministration, they wouldn't allow you into the country. Imagine that for American citizens.
Wouldn't surprise me. I'm trying to remember the recent decision where Section 702 expired and the GOP specifically was heavily trying to get that thing expanded.
Oh, the surveillance thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That expired? Was it a few days ago or sometimes?
The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act.
Last month. I keep forgetting it's July the 1st. Yeah. Lapse as of June the 12th. I think they expanded afterwards, but yeah, this was a huge bit of contention for Mike Johnson, the GOP as well. But I think they have it renewed now, to double check that. Next ruling that I wanted to go over was in regards to their. It's still expired? Okay.
It's expired. They haven't passed anything. Yeah.
Okay. They're working on that. I don't think it's going to last for too long. Yeah.
My one comment on that. So what FISA basically allowed them to do is FISA, I think they have to pronounce it, FISA, which again is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Right. What it allowed, it was passed in 2008, of course, under Bush Jr. All right. I swear that motherfucker was all up in our business. Like, he just loved being in our business. Like, once 9/11 happened, he was like, ooh, he had a fucking Amex where he could just be in our business whenever he wanted to. Anywho, with that being said, this one to me is dangerous, especially under the current climate that we're in. Because while this one only applies to foreign operatives like out of the United States of America, right? In the way that my mind works, it opens the door for them to pretty much figure out how they can spy on American citizens like that, right? Because this was allowing them to do it without like a warrant, right? It's just they could go through like your emails, your phone calls, your text messages. All right. And that included even American citizens who were in contact with them. But my broader concern would be how they could do it just to American citizens in general, like to me, to you, to Hector, like how they could just access our information and go through it. That's very concerning. So I hope it stays expired. I really do. Don't bring it back.
Mind you, this was supposed to be for foreigners on threats to the United States. And then in the middle of it, it literally started spying on us as well. Because basically, if you're alleged to have been speaking to a foreign national who's also alleged to be a threat to the United States, all your information and data can now be spied on and collected. And with the way the Trump administration has been assessing threats with the allegations of Antifa, it's a very, very, very dangerous section. And granted, from what I was reading over here, the risk to this is really not significant, especially under FISA, where you still have other laws you have to comply on. Companies can face challenges in court for not submitting certain information within 30 days. So there's still going to be protection. They're still able to do what they need to do. This is just more so about additional power from everything that I'm reading here. So yeah, I hope it doesn't get renewed as well. But I don't know. I don't know what happens in this Congress. Now, the Roundup ruling, this one is interesting to me because the only two people who had the dissent was Gorsuch and Jackson. I don't know why, because I think this is a load of crap. And there's a reason why. Supreme Court blocked thousands of lawsuits over the weed killer Roundup, ruling the manufacturer can't be sued for failing to warn people that the popular product might cause cancer. The EPA, which regulates pesticides, has not determined that Roundup poses a cancer risk and does not require a label saying it does, which I find to be interesting. Lawsuits against Roundup and its use and its environmental factors, how it's impacted people, has been around for some time. I don't see why the EPA hasn't taken up a study to ascertain how much use of Roundup, how it's utilized, so on and so forth. If there's any like PPE necessary when you're doing it, they have some of that already.
But they have.
Yeah.
They have. Because with the Roundup, what I learned in looking into this case is that, like, for the casual user like you and I, right, like at our homes, is no issue. The issue comes into play to people who use it constantly, consistently, like the farm workers. Is those are the people that are showing up with cancer. And so I think that the label, they have a duty, all right, to keep the label on the bottle. All right. No matter the state, just a national label on it that says that, hey, this product may cause cancer. Because has it reduced sales in Roundup? No. Roundup is still the number one like pesticide. People still buy it. All right. I actually probably, do I have any? I don't know. But yeah, like people, I don't have any Roundup. No, I got something different. But they use that shit.
Yeah.
They still use it. Like Monsanto has that market on lock. So just put the label up there and keep people alive.
I don't think it's that hard. I think it's pretty damn simple. And this stemmed out of one was under Missouri law where this took place, but hold on, let me go back up here. So the 7-2 decision, the justices said that means Roundup users who have developed cancer cannot sue by claiming the weed killer violates states' laws about dangerous products. So state laws, such as ones in Missouri, they would have laws that say you have to have some kind of label up. But if that has no backing of a federal law, that's where the Supreme Court came in and struck it down and said, well, we have no federal regulation, so you can't, as a state now, say that you need a regulation if it conflates with that law, which...
That's a supremacy clause, which makes no sense whatsoever, because they basically take over where the federal law actually overrides state law in some instances, and they don't have any regulation. So it's like there's no requirement for the state to have it, so they can just strike it down. But I think about the 10th Amendment that allows the states to actually, again, govern themselves in a sense. And I know that's like in regards to imposing taxes and all that jazz and how they handle schools and whatnot. But at the same time, wouldn't it be how they also handle like the environment and like medical and health and like disclaimers? I don't know. Supreme Court's weird, full of contradictions, if you ask me.
Honestly, yeah. That's kind of my feeling on this. Brett Kavanaugh wrote for the 7-2 majority that John Journell, who won $1.25 million in his lawsuit, could not bring a failure to warn lawsuit against Monsanto under Missouri law. In sum, federal law requires Monsanto to sell Roundup with the label that EPA approved at the initial registration and that EPA has subsequently reapproved on multiple occasions. That is, the label without a cancer warning. Journal's state tort claim, by contrast, would require Monsanto to add a cancer warning to its labels. But Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson disagreed, arguing the decision departs from the near unanimous view of the many state and federal courts about whether federal law trumps state law in this case. Couldn't agree more. In my view, the majority should have joined that chorus, Jackson wrote for herself and Justice Neil Gorsuch. Bayer, the global agrochemical manufacturer that bought Roundup maker Monsanto in 2018, is facing billions of dollars in potential liability from a deluge of lawsuits over glyphosate, the key ingredient in Roundup. Mind you, this ruling shut down thousands of cases. This is just one or two or three. This is thousands that just got swept under the rug. The company said the ruling will help significantly limit litigation. The decision brings overdue justice on an issue that should have been clarified much earlier. It's time to put it behind us, said the CEO, Bill Anderson. Bayer stopped using it, by the way, in residential use. So kind of supporting what Erica was saying. This is mostly on the commercial aspect for people who are frequently around it. But you and I don't have to necessarily worry about that specific ingredient with the Roundup that you use on our gardens. However, the issue that I still have with this is if there's a risk, if there's a potential, especially when we know that the EPA can miss some things. The EPA is a good branch, but it doesn't cover everything. I don't think that this is beneficial to the individuals who are around this so consistently when the EPA is refusing to put an investigation into its links to cancer and putting that label on a federal board for that. And then the states can't come up and then say, we're going to step up where the EPA cannot. We know federal branches have been weakened significantly under this administration, and it's up to many states, blue states predominantly, to ensure protections for its consumers, whether it comes to food, environment, or anything else. So I think this ruling really weakened the state's ability to do so when our federal branches fall short. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I know that we have like a centralized government in the three branches. I get it. All right. And they kind of oversee everything. But what's the purpose of having a 10th Amendment? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I feel like they just ease up on it and then they go hard on it for specific things. For specific things, it's all about these states' rights. And other things, like, we don't care. Not consistent.
That part. And we're actually going to see that in the contrast between the slaughter and the cook cases. So we're definitely going to see that, because I just want to say that the 10th Amendment is the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So if you don't have a regulation for it, all right, then that allows the states to make a decision about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they contradict themselves there, and that's what I don't like. That goes against the friggin' that goes against what they're supposed to be, textualists. Like, I don't quite understand it. I think it's a form of hypocrisy is what we're seeing here, and that kind of leads to the slaughter and the cook cases. So guys, the FTC chairman, which is the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, all right, that would be let me make sure I get her name right. I gotta make sure I get it right. Rebecca Kelly Slaughter is her name. All right. This decision came down on Monday, all right, in the morning. And pretty much the background on this case is that in March of last year, so 2025, Trump fired the Democratic FTC commissioner, Rebecca Kelly Slaughter. And it was, of course, because her positions conflicted with, his plans, all right, his administration's economic goals. And Slaughter actually sued, and she relied on the 1935 Supreme Court precedent, which is known as the Humphreys Executor. All right. And the Humphreys Executor basically says that a president cannot fire at will a chairman or a member of an independent agency. Right. And so basically they can't be fired at will, but they can be fired with cause. All right. And cause would be like malfeasance or neglect. Okay. Neither of which, Commissioner Slaughter engaged in. Right. But what happened with her case here is that in a 6-3 vote, the justices actually agreed with the Trump administration, and they actually basically issued a major blow, all right, to how these firings can happen, right? They overruled the Humphreys executive. Like, they set a new precedent here. So basically now when you talk about whether or not a person can be fired at will if they work for an independent agency in the government, they're going to be referencing this case right here, the Slaughter case, Trump v. Slaughter, to make their case that the president can, because it's been set. What he did is that Chief Justice Roberts wrote the majority opinion, and he basically said that the independent agencies do wield massive executive power, meaning that their leaders must be directly answerable to and removable by the president. His direct quote was this. He said, "What text, history, and structure settle, our precedent confirms. The president may remove his subordinates at will. The task the FTC undertakes are the very essence of execution of the law, precisely the president's constitutional role." So he just gave him unilateral power to actually fire, all right, anyone that he does not agree with, because it's at will. If you live in an at will state, all right, you know what that means. Okay, they don't need any cause to actually let you go from your job. All right, you could just not be liked by a person, or you could just it doesn't matter. It's without cause. Okay, so I don't like this decision at all. The dissenting opinion, I will come back to it, because of the simple fact is that we have to juxtapose this against how they handled the Cook case. Now, am I happy for Governor Lisa Cook? Hell yeah. For Fed Governor Cook? Absolutely. All right. Shout out to that black woman. All right. She keeping her job. All right. You won't get rid of her black job, not today. So there's that part. However, it is a staunch contradiction to what it is that they ruled in the Durgoyne slaughter case. Because with the Cook case, we all know that in August of last year, all right, Trump decided to go on a tangent against the Fed. This is when like his rough draft of a letter to fire then Fed Chairman Jerome Powell was leaked. Hector, I don't know if you saw that, but yeah, his rough draft was leaked. And so, but that never came about. We also know that another Fed governor had resigned just a little bit before August due to some improprieties when it came to stock trading. So she left. And he went after Cook. I don't know why he chose Cook. He just did. And what he did is that he said that she had made false statements on some mortgage documents. And what happened is that Lisa Cook was actually able to secure an injunction blocking her removal. And the court, the federal courts actually upheld that injunction, right? And also she argued, the main thing that she argued was that the Trump administration had allowed her no formal process, no ability to provide any evidence or an opportunity for her to defend herself before firing her from a role that she held at the time for 14 years. So together with the three liberal judges again, Kavanaugh, Roberts, and Comey Barrett actually agreed with them. And in the majority opinion, Justice Roberts basically said, calls for removal must reflect the Federal Reserve's unique historical status and role as an institution that operates at a deliberate, removed from the ordinary political process. Cook was at least entitled to some explanation of the evidence at issue, some avenue for a response, and a deadline. Right? So what they're saying for her that they didn't say for Slaughter, right, is that Cook was entitled to due process. Right? She was entitled to basically be able to defend herself and give enough time to actually make a case to keep her job. Whereas with Slaughter, they're saying that is at will. But both are supposedly independent agencies, right? Now, here's the thing. The FTC is something that basically helps out citizens, right? It helps us as consumers, like what we buy, hearing the lawsuits, like if we feel like we've been scammed, those types of protections. That's what the FTC actually handles, right? Whereas the Fed sets basically the economic trajectory of the nation and almost of the world, if you think about it, when we raise and lower interest rates, right? It protects who? Wall Street. It protects who? The rich, the wealthy. It protects their portfolios, right? Think about that. I want y'all to consider that, all right? Getting rid of Fed Governor Cook could have set the table for them to put in a Trump loyalist, just beyond the fucking Trump loyalist, all right, who would vote to decrease interest rates down to fucking zero if allowed to. You know what I mean? And I think that they kept Governor Cook on board in order to keep a fair and balanced governing board. All right, since they've already been able to get Kevin Warsh in as the new Fed chair, and he is, in fact, a Trump loyalist, I think what they did, and he can't act alone. He does not get to make any unilateral decisions. It's all about the vote when it comes to the Fed. So they were able, I think they did it to keep a fair board. But at the same time, do you see the contradiction here between those two cases? It doesn't make any sense.
So the FTC is also a monopoly buster. They're the ones who go after deceptive business practices. That is what this group is. Exactly what Erica said. This is meant for people like you and I, for the most part, the average everyday American civilian who may fall susceptible to business practices that's meant to enrich the rich. And the monumental contradiction in these cases are the fact that we can look at one and say, okay, this individual did not get this kind of due process. Mind you, Lisa Cook, it was a BS allegation, but it was the one where she was alleged to have what was it in regards to her properties?
Supposedly lied on the occupancy of a secondary home.
Yep, to benefit from like tax incentives and stuff, which Trump did.
Yeah.
By the way, she didn't get. That was the allegation that he was using to say that she was corrupt and evil and everything else, and nothing came of that, of course, thankfully, and her job is now protected. There was nothing, absolutely nothing for, I'm blanking on her name. Why am I blanking on her name? Slaughter. There's nothing for Slaughter. There was no allegation. There was no accusation or anything. It was just, she's not working along the lines of my political agenda. And I want to read a little bit of this to you guys because I just think it's absolutely freaking ridiculous. The commission was established by Congress, mind you, it's bipartisan, to be led by politically balanced boards of experts serving staggered fixed terms meant to insulate them from interference. But Trump argued presidential control will make agencies like the FTC, the Consumer Production Safety Commission, and the Federal Election Commission more accountable to voters who elect presidents. That accountability already exists in Congress. That accountability already exists if they're ever implicated in fraud or anything of the sorts, or political bias. We already have processes for that. And it's one thing if you wanted the president to get more involved in overseeing it, but they're still supposed to be independent for a reason because of the political bias that we're seeing from this administration. Trump asks the court to overturn Humphrey's executive order versus the United States, a 1935 decision upholding removal restrictions for leaders of multi-member administrative agencies. The court has been chipping away at that decision since 2010. If anything more is left of Humphrey's, we overrule it. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in asserting that a president, quote, must have the assistance of officers he can trust, end quote. Although it is up to the Senate to decide whether to confirm those with whom the president would prefer to work, neither Congress nor the courts may saddle him with those with whom he cannot work. Robert wrote for the majority. That is dangerous because Trump determines who he cannot work with based off of you being an enemy within or a liberal nutjob judge, a kangaroo, all these different things. So if the president can say, I can't work with this person because they don't have my agenda in mind and can just fire you without cause, you're literally creating partisanship. You're creating partisanship. You're creating authoritarianism, as far as I'm concerned.
Within independent agencies at that. Well, supposed independent agencies, but no longer independent. So I guess the FTC is not an independent agency. Because the crazy thing is that, like, the court basically said that because the FTC exercises executive power over the economy, all right, that the president must be able to fire its commissioners at will. No. But then again, in Cook, what they said is that, like, she as a governor is part of an agency that dictates, like, the interest rates and controls the money supply and handles the absolute, like, bedrock of our financial system, right? They say these things. So wait, one handles the economy for the citizen and the other handles the economy for Wall Street, basically, if we want to like do a contrast between the two. And the court just showed us which one they care more about. They care more about the agency that handles Wall Street than they do the one for the consumer. And when it comes to, like, the FTC, basically for the monopolies, you mentioned that, right? We can't have these. What happened to antitrust laws? Like, we already have this thing where, what is it? Paramount is being able to buy Warner Brothers. Is Paramount being able to buy Warner Brothers and, like, HBO, like, all of that together?
Yep, trying to bid on it.
Yeah, because Netflix was in a race, was in the bidding war with them, and Paramount won. And I mean, I no, we don't want them on. We don't want one company owning everything, because the one thing that I did learn, all right, when I was in school and we learned about antitrust, right, is that when you have a monopoly, they get to set the price. All right, they get to set the price. That means that if they decide that your monthly subscription should be, $50 a month, right? And other companies see that you're paying $50 for it, what makes you think those other companies ain't gonna take their price from 15 to, let's say, $48 or $49? You know what I mean? It doesn't help us out as a consumer. And the Supreme Court, unfortunately, in my opinion, just really opened the door for them to do whatever the hell it is that they want to do, and get these loyalists in place who will just fuck us over. That's the best way to put it.
Precisely that.
So that's all I got.
No notes. No notes on that. We are coming up on the hour mark. So I want to do this quick little PSA. Everybody, welcome into the Fun and Fact Show, episode 26. Erica's thinking about something special for the Dirty 30. I'll leave that up to her. But I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. We host this every Wednesday afternoon. I'm just going to say every Wednesday afternoon, where we bring you the fun and the facts of all the current events happening in our political processes under this administration. We decided to make the entire show about Scotus rulings for the most part today, because there were so many within the last week, and a lot of them are very heavy, and there's a lot of information I think more people need to know and pay attention to. We really need to keep a close eye on Scotus, because they are the head of the body that is going to make Trump's Project 2025 agenda. I'm bringing that back because y'all want to act like it doesn't exist. He wants to make that a reality, very much so. But you guys can do a couple things while you're here supporting us. We would greatly appreciate it. Make sure that you're double tapping the screen. Those of you on the tube side, on both ends, get the likes up to as many as you possibly can. Share out the live with your friends and family as well. We want to make sure this live gets out to as many people as humanly possible who want to hear this information. So make sure you're sharing it to your group chats, your maggot uncles. However you got to do it, just make sure that you're doing it. Add it to your story and repost as well. Knock out our respective gift goals, the little TikTok thingy majiggies. If you haven't sent your daily heartbeats, please feel free to do so. And if you like this content, if you like what we do here, hit that follow button. Hit up the links in the bio as well. Over on the YouTube, it's going to be in the description of the video, and that's going to be the best ways to support us. Any donations or messages we do not read until the end of the live, so don't worry about that if you happen to support us that way, but please feel free to hit up the Venmo, the Cash App, the PayPals, the Zells, and those are the ways that you can say a thank you and support this stream every single week that we do here. Of course, we also have our respective shops. You can get yourself some merchandise off of Erica's, ericaeffect.com, and myself's, hectorshops.com with 2 R's. We both have public Discords as well that you may join for free and choose to subscribe there if you would like and get even more information. A lot of the things that we cite here is posted on our Discord first and as well. So make sure you're doing all the good things. Those of you on the YouTube side, please hit the like button on the stream, subscribe and turn on notification bells, of course. And if you want to support the platform, you may send a super chat, super sticker, or consider becoming a member. We appreciate every last one of you for being here, and let's keep it going. My next one, I was going to go over. I'll let you do that.
One more thing about this one,
yeah,
that I think is important to actually note, because I didn't want to go over like the dissenting opinions for Booth. I can't talk right now. So like in Slaughter, of course, the liberal judges dissented. That'll be Sotomayor, Kagan, and Brown Jackson. Justice Sotomayor wrote the dissenting opinion, and she pretty much, like I've been doing here, noted the hypocrisy, all right, from the conservative judges. She noted that the arguments the majority used to protect the Fed that she admitted that certain economic institutions need to be insulated from short-term political panic. Think about that. All right. She argued that those exact same principles apply to consumer protection and antitrust enforcement, making like the destruction of the FTC's independence completely arbitrary. Again, this is just, I honestly think this was a Supreme Court, those 6 conservative judges, handing Trump a win. That's what I think it was. It was just them basically saying, he a damn. Be honest, that's what it was, because it doesn't make any sense. And the reason why they claimed that they sided with Cook was because of the procedural era here, is that she didn't have enough time to like make a case to defend herself. But again, neither did Slaughter. right? And again, they're both independent agencies, right? And I think it's fucking crazy how no one can actually contest truly the Supreme Court. It's like once they make a decision, it's almost as if it's final unless Congress acts. And this Congress isn't going to do anything. They're not. I just hope that these decisions, especially the slaughter one, comes back and bites them in the hind pots, in the buttocks, as Forrest Gump would say. All right. When we have, let's say, a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate, and also a Democratic majority in the presidency. All right. And we can get a Congress in place who will basically make rules that say, no, the president can't just fire someone in the executive branch at will, especially an independent agency.
I think for all of the conservatives that are concerned and worried and scared about the likes of, say, Gavin Newsom, and Democrats as well, y'all are setting the groundwork for if that man runs and wins in 2028 with his petty behind.
Hey, bruh, y'all about to lose y'all jobs.
Like I think that's my issue with so many of these rulings. They're curbed and curtailed, not curbed. They're curtailed for Donald Trump's benefit. But then the next Democratic president can just come in and do all this stuff. And it's going to be so interesting. 2028 onward is going to be 2029, is going to be a very fascinating first year, especially if that person comes in and just decides to yeet this, yeet that, change this, change that. And everyone's going to be screaming and crying, Constitution, violation of rights. And I'm just going to point to everything here. That's what I'm going to do.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, I actually am. If Democrats get their shit together, but yeah, let's get a DSA member in there. It's about that time. If you don't,
speaking of DSA member, one won a primary last night for the House
in Colorado.
Was it the House or the Senate in Colorado?
It was the House. Yes,
I sent in the House. 29 or 19 years. This is why it's so much damn information to remember.
Her age?
It was a long time.
So she's 29, and she beat I thought it was like a 15 or 16 year incumbent, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the DSA is on a warpath.
Yes. I'll do that really quickly. Like her name is Melat Kiros. She's Ethiopian.
Awesome.
And she beat the 15-term incumbent. She's 29 years old. Wait, hold on. 29-year-old beat. Yes, she's a 29-year-old. She beat Diana DeGette in Deep Blue Denver District. Mind you, DeGette was advertising herself to be a progressive, but I guess maybe it was more so in name only. Specifically with Kuros, she was under some controversy in regards to her comments specifically about Gaza. And she said, let me see if I can find her statements here. Kiros, 29, was born in Ethiopia in 1997, the year DeGette arrived in Congress and graduated from law school at the University of Notre Dame in 2022. The following year, she wrote a blog post rejecting accusations that law students who protested against Israel's counterattack after October the 7th were anti-Semitic. The New York law firm where Kiros was working fired her after she refused to take the post down, and then she went into politics. I appreciate someone who can stand on that shit that they said. After announcing her run for Congress, Kiros picked up endorsements from the progressive Senator Bernie Sanders, as well as the Democratic Socialists of America and Justice Democrats, progressive groups that had also been involved in New York's primaries. In a statement, Justice Democrats praised Kiros for having built a movement that inspired Denverites, is that what they call them? I didn't know that, Denverites, to remember that they themselves have the power to transform what kind of Democratic Party.
Denverians.
I like that so much more too. Denverites just sounds weird. It just sounds weird. What kind of Democratic Party they want to be represented by. I don't care about these quotes. I want to see her stance specifically. Here we go. Kiros made concerns about U.S. support for Israel prominent in her campaign. In an interview with Colorado Public Radio, Kiros accused the country of carrying out a genocide in Gaza and called for the United States to impose an arms embargo. DeGette opposes providing offensive arms to Israel, but told CPR that she believes the country has a right to exist and defend itself. The representative's campaign criticized comments Kiros made in a recent interview, including a refusal to say whether she considered a 2025 firebombing attack on pro-Israel demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado, to be motivated by anti-Semitism. Her quote specifically, I don't know what was in the heart of the perpetuator. All I know is that he went and attacked innocent people because of what they might have believed. I don't even know what the people that were at the protest believed too. Fair?
Yeah, this is giving AOC energy.
It is. Absolutely is.
AOC energy. Remember in 2018 when she beat Crowley and he had been in office for quite a while. Quite a while. So I think that is 20 years. He was in office for 20 years. And so the person that this young lady beat, you said her name is Kuros, right? It's pronounced Kuros?
Yes.
Yeah. So Kuros beat a person who had been in office for 30 years. I thought I read 29, but I guess it was 30 years. But yeah, a 30-year incumbent. And I think that's pretty special, especially with her being so young and whatnot. So I think that's awesome. So shout out to the DSA. I have my issues with it though, because they call themselves democratic socialists, but they have to operate within this system. So what they advocate for is actual social democracy. So they pretty much believe in like taxing the rich and, the rich and the wealthy, the corporations, more money so that that money can then be put back into the citizens. All right. And so that's just social democracy. That's all that it is. They still believe in private ownership because they can't undo private ownership. So I think if we keep like voting for and get these people into power, I guess, into positions of leadership and whatnot, then it's possible that people will be able to like get the actual democratic socialism that they want to have. But yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I get that point. It's a journey because ultimately, while they may have in certain areas vastly different views from the Democrats, they still are and are running off of Democratic tickets. But I blame the Electoral College for that. I blame whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
Citizens United for that. It's just these are the reasons why the Democratic Party and the Republican Party
I growled.
have consolidated so much power. So it's going to be, unfortunately, very incremental unless y'all start to, stock up on some mammals, which I don't advocate for. So shout out to the Democratic Socialists. We've seen them start to make grounds in specifically New York, backed by Mamdani. Mamdani went as far as to endorse the individual in D.C. who just won the primary, the Democratic Socialist. I always blank on her name. I'm going to get it right. And now Manat Kiros, because he endorsed her as well, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it just Bernie? It may have just been Bernie. Just Bernie. Don't quote me on Mamdani. My next one here that I have is in regards to mail-in ballots.
Her name is Shanice Lewis George.
Thank you so much. Shanice Lewis George. DC, you lucky bastards. I'm starving over here in Texas. Supreme Court okays late arriving mailed ballots and loss for Trump. So before we carry on with this,
Hector.
Yes.
Hector, if I could, just an aside, you just missed like a really good like segue.
Did I?
Into another Supreme Court case that was ruled on yesterday.
I'm gonna let you.
Did you mention Citizens United?
I'm gonna let you do that
like
one.
The unlimited spitting.
I'm gonna let you do that one.
Let me do that. Okay.
I'm gonna let you do that one.
Okay, got it. Okay, you go ahead.
No, do that one. Do one that once.
Oh, do that one. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna make my chai.
Oh, okay. All right. So, y'all, yesterday, all right, the Supreme Court actually did make a ruling that pretty much, cements Citizens United to where, like, the uncapped political contributions and everything. And so what had happened was, and let me pull it up here, because we got notes, y'all. We got notes. All right. So what it was it yesterday or Monday? Oh, shug. Oh, here we go. Yes. Okay. So it was yesterday. It was a Federal Election Commission. So that's the FEC. All right. And what happened is that the campaign law finance law has always historically imposed strict statutory caps on like coordinated expenditures. And what that means is that's money that's spent by a political party, committee directly in consultation or coordination with a specific candidate's campaign. Basically meaning like the amount of money that they can spend in meeting with candidates, right? And so what has happened is that national party committees sued the FEC, claiming that limiting how much a political party communicates and strategizes, all right, with its own candidates actually is a violation of the First Amendment when it comes to free speech. And they argued that it places parties at a disadvantage compared to like what independent super PACs can do, right? So, with that being said, all right, what happened is in a 6-3 ruling, all right, the Supreme Court actually ruled with the political committees. They did. Pretty much the conservative majority, which includes those 6 judges that we all know who they are. If you need a refresher, I do suggest Google. But I would say the conservative majority did strike down the federal limits on coordinated party spending. And what they said was that forcing a political party to act independently of its own chosen candidates constitutes an unconstitutional restraint on political speech under the First Amendment. All right. And of course, who do you think wrote the majority opinion for this one? All right. The majority opinion for this one, I got to make sure I get it right here. Doo, 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 doo. That one was written, I believe, by Barrett. That was written by Barrett? All right. So with this one, what had happened was is that they wrote a political party exists for the purposes of electing its candidates. To say that a party may speak but cannot speak with its candidates is to hollow out the First Amendment, where it should be at its strongest at the apex of political campaigns. Fucking hey, guys, they're going to be able to spend so much money. I just want to let you all know that they're going to be able to take all of this money that they have in their coffers, and it's actually going to be a better benefit for the Republican Party because they are just flushed with cash. There's like no amount of money that they're willing to spend, whereas Democratic candidates typically can and will use public funds. Republicans are quite okay with using private funds. They take that money and they just go balls to the wall. All right. I am not as eloquent as Hector is, but you know what? I get the point across. Okay. There's that. So they just take this money and flood the market with it. All right. That's what they do. And if they're able to spend this unyielding amount, all right, with no regulation on it when it comes to meeting with candidates, can you imagine the type of vetting that's about to happen? Can you imagine like how they're gonna wine and dine them just to meet with them and things like that in order to say their name out loud so then more candidates can know who they are? Oh, this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be bad. So, anywho, the dissenting opinion here. Let me see here. I gotta make sure because I want to get you the name here. I had it written down, but I hate when I backspace on stuff. My apologies. Bum, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Oh, here we go. One moment. My apologies, y'all. On my mama, on my hood. I promise I got an attitude right now. One moment. I'm sorry. It was Kagan. Okay, so it was Kagan who wrote the dissenting opinion for that one. All right. And it was Kavanaugh, not Barrett, who wrote the majority opinion. So my apologies. It was Kavanaugh. So what Kagan wrote is that she said by dismantling the firewall between party coffers and individual candidates, the court opens yet another floodgate for dark money, further eroding public trust in the integrity of our democratic elections. Any and everybody any and everybody will be able to meet with these candidates. There's no more guardrails. And again, this is going to help the Republican Party because the Republicans are just willing to do the depraved shit. I ain't going to hold you. All right. They are willing to take away the rights, the civil liberties, whatever it is, all right, to maintain that level of power that they need in order to keep on keeping on. All right. And we'll have to see what happens with this one. And again, it's going to be a severe limitation on the Democratic Party because those candidates use public funds. All right, a lot of those candidates do that, especially the up and coming ones. And on the Republican side, the up and coming ones, they don't give a F word. And so they take money from any and everywhere. So we'll have to see. But I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. All right, like, with all of the money, right? And they say, oh, well, they outspent this candidate by $10 million. But, like, where did the money go? Like, what is it doing? Is it just doing ads so it allows your ads to be on the radio and the TV and the social media more than anything so you're seen more than the other candidate? Like, what is it doing? Because if you don't support Republican candidates, right, then what amount of spending is going to change that? You know what I mean?
I think it has a lot to do with the ads a lot of people don't care about. So I don't have cable television. I have like basic things that come with every Samsung TV with Wi-Fi, Samsung TV Plus, and it will play local news. And there's channels on those little stations that people actually do watch. I talked about this in great detail last year, where this one guy in District 64 had ads on these little Samsung TV channels, like blasting through. They're able to check your location, you see you're in Texas, and push this stuff to you. Not a single Democrat, not a single leftist candidate had ads on these platforms, but the Republicans were, because there's a demographic of people, rural people, were watching them. So I think a lot of money goes into those kind of ads, kind of the ones that Democrats don't focus on, which I think is an L. I think it's also about the frequency, because you can play it for this amount of time, you can play it for that amount of time. As for everything else, I don't know, because I think, especially if we're to look at, say, well, no, I can't even take that back. Everyone criticizes Kamala Harris for the alleged $1 billion that was wasted, blah, blah, blah. But then Republicans had huge donors. They spent over 215 million specifically in anti-LGBTQ ads. So I think there's areas where Republicans kind of focus on that may cost more, again, to the rural areas. But ultimately, I don't see how it can still come about to the amounts that they're throwing into these campaigns. That's why I think a lot of them skimming that shit off the top a little bit, you know.
I do think this could lead to a good conversation on how Democrats can actually move forward with strategizing. I think they really need to be louder about what's going on. Like, to be honest with you, like, we hear a lot of blunders from this administration, right? Like them mistakenly telling the truth, but then you don't hear anyone talking about it. Like, you'll talk about it, I'll talk about it. Like, people on social media will talk about it, but the party leaders, they're not talking about it. Right? It's not making the headways. It's like the Republicans messaging, even if you don't go searching for it, some way, somehow it still finds you. If that makes sense. All right, it still finds you. Yet with the Democrats, on the other hand, you simply have to literally go digging for their messaging to find out, like, okay, what is it that you're actually talking about? Did you talk about how, like, I don't know, like how Trump, admitted that energy costs are higher, and that's something that needs to be clipped, and you need to play that in an ad on repeat for the next year and a half. You know what I mean? Like, did you do that? Did you talk about, like, how Project 2025, what it is, and how it's almost 60% completed? Like, did you do that? Like, what is it that they are doing?
Someone brought up a great point: opposition research and political consulting firms. I also think we can absolutely say that now, that the way social media has been working, with most platforms having some right leaning at this point, and the ads that we see now and there, that costs a ton of money. Social media costs a bunch of money, and they've been making their presence stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger since then.
Yeah, I think it would benefit them to a great extent to take the podcast route, to go on as many different podcasts and just look at them as interviews. I think an issue when it comes to the Democrats is that they are traditionalists in a sense, right? and that they respect legacy media. So they want to sit down with the New York Times. They want to sit down with CNN or MS Now. Like they want to sit down with them, the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, so on and so forth. All right, but they should be looking at like the podcasters. All right, to try to reach a wider audience, because if you keep talking, don't be upset with me when I say this, anyone that is over the age of 50 listening. But if you keep reaching to the 50 and older crowd, all right, you kind of start, you miss out on a large and an enormous, all right, demographic of voters. All right, like Democrats truly do have to figure out a way to appeal to millennial, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha.
That's
Do you know why they got to appeal to Gen Alpha? Because come 2028, it'll be their first year voting. They'll be turning 18. So I think that they have to start doing that. And I honestly think that people who, even if they could call themselves progressives, or they're DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, so Democratic Socialists, right? If they are aligning themselves with the Democratic Party, they have to be extremely loud about it. Like, look what Zoran did in New York. That's what I think it is. Just look at what Zoran, how his social media team was able to capitalize off of all that was going on at the time to bring him the attention that he needed, how he only used public funding, and he was still able to win the mayorship in one of the largest cities in the world.
You just piqued my interest. I wanted to know,
Sure.
specifically, where was the increase in regards to the young vote in New York City? So I'm just kind of doing a bit of a quick dig on that, because there absolutely was an increase. I remember that being complimented. Oh wow. So exit poll shows 75% of youth voted for Mamdani compared to the other candidates. There was an increase compared to prior elections. Yeah, he motivated people, and one of the reasons why he was able to do so is his killer social media presence. Like you said, he didn't show up on granted, there's always going to be a place for like Stephen Colbert and I don't know, Jimmy Kimmel and stuff, but certain demographic of people don't so much care about that, especially when it's significantly filtered. He was on the average New York content creators platforms. He did collabs with content creators that I know here in Texas and across the United States. He did not sleep on social media. He did not sleep on going to all demographics of people on the left, regardless of where they standed, whatever their positions were, including people who even have contentions with him about his rhetoric surrounding Gaza and Israel. So, yeah, that's it. I think we need to stop going the traditional routes. It's literally killing us. It killed us in 2024, and it's going to continue to be the same way. Meanwhile, Republicans show up in any and every podcast. They don't care who the person is. They don't care what they say. They just go, hey, you want to vote for us? Come vote for us here. My next story is going to be in regards to the Supreme Court ruling about mail-in ballots. And before I carry on, I want to make sure anytime the word election, that word, I'm just going to say festival because TikTok is sensitive. So, Supreme Court 2 days ago, what's today, Wednesday, Monday, said Mississippi can count late arriving mail-in ballots, handing a defeat to President Donald Trump, who's trying to curtail voting by mail. The court upheld the state law allowing ballots cast by Election Day to be counted if they're received within 5 days. Justice Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice John Roberts joined the court's 3 liberal judges in backing the law. The question today is not whether requiring ballots to be received by Election Day is a good or bad idea. The question is whether the idea has made its way into the United States Code. Barrett wrote for the 5-4 majority. In federal law, she concluded, dictates only that voters make a choice by a specific day, not that their ballots must be received on that day, which is correct. That's why Donald Trump's rhetoric around this is so ridiculous, because it's not the law. And if you want to change it, get Congress involved. In dissent, Justice Samuel Alito said accepting late arriving ballots effectively postpones the date on which the electorate's choice is made, and federal law precludes that postponement. Allowing absentee ballots to pour in over the days and weeks after Election Day, by which point preliminary election returns are being publicly reported, creates greater opportunity for fraud and risk further undermining the public's confidence in election integrity. The only thing I'll say to this is weeks, sure. Weeks can be a little, contentious. That will make kind of some sense to me. Anything within a week, not really. If you want to talk about streamlining the process that we have results in a maximum of 3 days afterwards, I think everyone can get down with that. But limiting people's ability to vote, as state laws specifically take it upon themselves to lessen public funding that goes towards voter registration drives, that go towards taking people to their local ballot locations, folks who may have not have the transportation to get there. Specifically in Tennessee, the law that was just rushed through in a 3-day Congress that required, when it came to the redistricting, they were not responsible. There was no legal responsibility upon them changing districts, which means someone could have been in one district where this guy was their candidate, and then the redistricting passed, you got put in a completely different district with a completely different candidate. State law did not put a requirement that you have to push that information out to that person, that you have to tell them. They left the burden up to the voter. And that's ridiculous to me. So when we have state laws that are so limited, so open season, you cannot encourage things like this if you're not doing the due diligence to make sure that that person understands what their civic rights are, what their election rights are, festival rights are. So that's my contention with this. More than a dozen states have laws similar to Mississippi. Additional laws allow late arriving ballots from military and overseas voters, which is a good thing. Voters by mail has decreased since its peak during the COVID-19 pandemic, but nearly 30% of voters still cast a ballot that way in the 2024 festivals. Democrats are more likely than Republicans to vote by mail. And that's really what this is all about. That is ultimately the point of contention.
Very true. Very true. And remember with the California election, primary election, just last month? Excuse me, where they were contesting the mail-in ballots and saying that they shouldn't be counted after Election Day. All right. But, But yeah, I mean, mail-in ballots, I think what it is because the justices in their opinions, basically dissenting opinion said that Election Day is Election Day. And I do actually want to read it because of what Thomas said. All right. So what Thomas argued is that the text of the federal law mandates finality on Election Day itself. His dissent basically claimed that stretching the election out for days via mail transit subverts the clear intent of Congress to have a unified national day decision. I think that is BS. And the reason why I think that is BS, all right, is because early voting is a thing, all right? Our mail system is not the best. So some things are going to be late. If it is postmarked on or before the cutoff date, then it counts, regardless of when it is counted. Okay? It's just like when you pay a bill. Okay? If it's postmarked before the bill is due, then guess what? It is not late. So there's that part. So there's the thing. It's not happening after Election Day. It's in concurrence with Election Day because it was sent in beforehand. So I think that's just them again trying to control it. And also with that dissenting opinion, we're trying to hand Trump a semblance of like a win for him to continue to contest mail-in ballots, which, again, have work, do work, will continue to work. And it's just for them, another way for them to try to stifle the Democratic vote. That's what they're trying to do. I do want to read what Justice Barrett, she actually wrote the majority opinion in this case. Justice Barrett did say that the electorate's choice is made when voting is complete, not when ballots are received. Nothing in the federal election day statutes requires ballots to be received by Election Day. And that is very true. And also, again, within our Constitution, the handling of our elections is to be governed by the states, right? It's not governed by the federal government. And I think that's the thing that these Republicans don't understand. It's like they want to mandate this one sweeping encompassing rule for processes that they feel help them. But when it comes to everything, oh, that's a state right. You know what I mean, Hector? Like, we want to be able to mandate how you do your elections. All right. But you know what? When deciding whether or not, a woman can do what she wants with her body, guess what? That's a state right. But I'm not even going to leave it up to the people of the state to decide. I'm going to leave it up to the legislators to decide. Like, come on.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't either.
The states' rights advocates are the biggest hypocrites I've ever heard.
Oh, yes.
Ever heard.
Most definitely. Because they will argue against states' rights when it comes to firearms.
With the quickness. And then, as we just saw, they shut down Hawaii. So.
Yep. And then we'll argue for it when it comes to things like abortion. So there's that. So there we go. There we go. All right. Which one do you have next?
I was gonna go over the TPS protections. Ending the TPS protections. And I think I want to make sure I'm doing this in the right order, because this will go into asylum and birthright citizenship, basically. So this one was the one that we had done on the 25th, and it was a ruling that Trump had the broad authority to end temporary protected status for Haitians and Syrians. I'm going to focus on Haitians specifically because of his egregious. Yes.
Can I actually do one before we go into there?
Yeah.
Because this one will be quick, but I think the order in which you want to go in actually works really, really well for this. So I just want to get this one. I hate to say this out of the way. Even though I hate to say it, I still said it. All right. Also, another thing is that the courts did rule on Little versus Hecox in West Virginia versus BPJ. All right. These were two cases that actually address transgender athlete participation in sports. All right. And of course, the focus was on trans women and the fuck. All right. Because they don't care about trans men. Again, it's all about access, about control. That's all it is. The court actually did side with the states of Idaho and I believe West Virginia. Idaho passed the law, the Fairness in Women's Sports Act in 2020, all right, where it barred trans women from participating in female sports categories. All right. Lindsay Hecox, who was a trans student running track at Boise State, she sued. And also in 2021, an 11-year-old middle schooler by the name of Becky Pepper Jackson, so BPJ, challenged a parallel law in West Virginia. All right. And so basically what happened here is that in a 6-3 ruling, of course, the conservatives beat the liberals again, Kavanaugh, writing for the majority, referenced Title IX. He said Title IX allows schools to provide separate women's and men's sports teams defined by biological sex. The term sex in Title IX, the Javits Amendment, and the Title IX regulations cannot plausibly be interpreted to refer to anything other than biological sex. All right. So what they're doing is they're using the words interchangeably when it comes to sex and gender. So woman and female, using it interchangeably is what they're doing. And he also continued that under this court's equal protection precedents, sex-based classifications are permissible only when the classification is substantially related to achieving an important government objective. The states argue and the court agrees that the interests of safety and competitive fairness are important interests. BS, because the NCAA prior to 2025, all right, actually had policy in place that set the amount of testosterone that a trans woman, all right, so a trans woman athlete could actually have within their system. They had set actual limits, all right. So they did that in 2022. Prior to that, they didn't do any testing, but after 2022 they did testing, and then because of basically what is it? What is the word? not threats, but what's the other word, Hector? Not coercion. Advice, recommendations, rhetoric. I can't think of the word right now. It was from the Trump administration to the sports teams. In 2025, they actually banned trans athletes from participating in sports. For in the sports that they want assigned at birth, if that makes sense. So there's that. But the thing about it is that the NCAA prior to the ban had over 510,000 student athletes, and only about 10 were transgender women. What is the word I'm looking for?
I'm trying to,
like, after suggestions from the Trump administration, rhetoric.
I guess. Well, I can say directives.
Direction.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Directions. Thank you, Hector.
Because it basically is it's basically a powerful suggestion. It's like
that's what I was looking for too. Powerful suggestions. I legit could not think of like the word combo at that time, and my brain just went blank. But yeah, so there's that. And the president, of course, definitely conflated, gender and sex again, because it's what the fuck he does, because he's not smart. All right. And he's just not smart. He tweeted this after the ruling. Let me show you guys here. There we go. All right. What he had said is that, and I got to pull it up myself because y'all know I can't see for shit. All right. He said, big win. The United States Supreme Court just ruled against men playing in women's sports. Wow. That takes that ridiculous situation off the table.
He really think that he really think that's just the end of it, doesn't he? He actually thinks that's the end of it.
Yeah, he does.
Gosh, man.
Yeah. I think that they don't understand that there is no athletic advantage that they have. I mean, you can look at certain athletes' records and see that they became like slower after taking the hormone therapy. When they start transitioning, they weak, like less able to, they don't bench as much. We just have to be honest about these situations, all right? And the thing is they're not looking at the actual science. This is all based off of feeling, is what this is. But that's that case. So unfortunately, that's what we have. And Justice Sotomayor authored the dissenting opinion, and what she stated was, because of the court's decision today, West Virginia and any other state actor can deny BPJ and others like her these experiences simply because it thinks they have an inherent athletic advantage, even if the facts show that they do not. These people don't care about science at all. They don't. But that's what we are. And so quick commercial break, and then we're going to get into the immigration side of the rulings, starting with the stripping of TPS from Haitian and Syrian immigrants. So, guys, thank you so very much for joining us here for the 26th episode of the Fun and Facts Show. I hope you all are enjoying it so far. If you are, be sure to show support because we definitely do appreciate it. You can do so by checking out the links in our respective bios. If you'd like to send a donation, the links are there: PayPal, Venmo. There's also a Zelle for me, and Hector has a Cash App. All right, so let's do all of the good things. You can also take a look at our merch shops where I have the Brug caps available and the Do All the Good Things tees and hoodies. Also, I Am Smarter Than a Trump Supporter line is still available. Additionally, Hector has hectorshops.com. That's Hector Shops with 2 R's, where you can get yourself a Kamala would never hat, and also a hoodie, and make 2 + 2 = 4 again. And it's okay to call people stupid. Hector, I have to tell you a funny story about that one.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. And so yeah, check it out, guys, and support your local what did I like to call us, your local Black creator, because we wear a lot of hats around these parts to bring you the information, the education, and the entertainment, or edutainment as I like to call it, to you, not just weekly here on the Fun and Facts Show, but every day during our live stream. So thank you all so very much, because everything is appreciated and most definitely accepted. All right, Hector, kick it off, my friend.
6,000%. So right before we get into the immigration stuff, I would just make this really quick story because this has been long anticipated that a large portion of Americans.
Mitch McConnell dead.
No.
Oh.
Not quite yet.
My bad.
Y'all, you know when you had something ready to go and then that thing happens, it's just gone. God damn it. ACA. We know about the estimates that show 5 million people were expected to have lost healthcare or not be able to afford healthcare after the ACA subsidies were gutted by the Trump administration and their control on Congress. However, we did have an AP News study that shows that millions dropped the Obamacare coverage. The number is still in the millions, and it's still awfully close to 5 million, but this is a more accurate reflection. About 3 million fewer people in the United States had Affordable Care Act health insurance plans in February compared to the same time last year, according to new federal data. It's more than half of the original estimates, and we're only a year in. In the report released Friday, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services suggested the 13% drop in enrollment from 22.1 million people in 2025 to 19.2 million this year could be attributed to a federal crackdown on fraudulent or phantom enrollment, but health analysts said it was more likely related to the January 1st expiration of federal subsidies, which caused a surge in plan costs that resulted in many people being unable to pay their premiums. We know that real people lost their health insurance coverage. Cynthia Cox, the vice president and director of the ACA program at the healthcare research nonprofit KFF, citing survey findings on people who had left their plans. This coverage loss happened at the same time millions of people face double, even triple-digit increases in their premium payments. We've had many of them call into the live stream that we do. The new data, compiled in April but showing coverage in February, represents the government's first official look at how people's inability to pay their first bills this year affected total enrollment. That is because the figures capture the marketplace after a non-payment grace period expired. A federal estimate in January showed that about 800,000 fewer people had signed up for ACA plans compared to the same time last year, marking the first time since the past 4 years that enrollment had been down from the previous year at that point in the shopping window. And when we could also talk about not just new enrollment, but people who changed their plans down to the basic, with the bronze plans, that substantially increased from what they had before because they could not afford it. So now people have to make a choice to get less health care. Some people would have those pre-existing conditions, those dangerous conditions. They had to pay for what they could be able to afford. Cox said KFF experts expect the total number of people in the government healthcare program to continue to decline throughout the year, potentially to a low about 17.5 million. That would be a significant drop for the government's flagship subsidized health insurance program for working age people who do not qualify for Medicaid. So, there's the results. Mind you, Donald Trump had a healthcare plan. You guys remember?
Where is that healthcare plan at? Is it still a concept?
Clearly. But don't worry, Erica. You can go to his website, TrumpRx.com, and sign up for TrumpRx. Yeah. Haven't done that one in a while.
They charge you the wholesale price.
Yeah.
What the fuck I'm going to do with that? My gosh. Anywho, bro, you got it. This is wicked work.
Merkin America great again. Alrighty. The Supreme Court ruled.
Killing you softly with his policies.
Literally.
Killing you slowly with his pen.
I may have to look at that. I may have to look at the population decline at the end of his second term compared to before. I think that would be interesting.
Shit.
Supreme Court ruled that President Donald Trump, this was one a couple of days ago, can immediately end deportation protections for Haitians and Syrians, giving the administration a freer hand to curtail a humanitarian program that has allowed hundreds of thousands of immigrants from dangerous countries to temporarily live and work in the United States. Syrians, I believe this is going to immediately affect after July the 27th. 1,600 Syrians. This is predominantly going to impact as many as 300,000 Haitian migrants living in the United States. The case was also a test of Trump's executive power and the deference the court traditionally gives presidents on immigration and foreign policy questions. Though not technically a final ruling, the 6-3 decision, take a wild guess as to how they voted, lets the administration move forward with lifting deportation protections as they're being challenged. That was the contention, which is insane to me. If we're literally challenging someone's status, we're literally challenging the TPS that they got, and there's a deportation order active, why would we allow that to stay while we're currently pending litigation? This is literally one of his gross amounts of violations to due process. Wait until it's finished. Wait until they're innocent or proven guilty or whatever. Then you can follow along with the deportation. The fact that literally in pending litigation, we can just straight up say, we do not care and get you about the paint. It's insane. It's insane.
It's concerning.
Really quickly, Kit has spoken. You guys got to tap. Somebody had to turn off the comments over here. Writing for the court's 3 liberals, Justice Elena Kagan said she dissented from the majority's ruling that the immigrants may, quote, be put on the next plane, end quote. Viles Dorsainville, a Haitian who had been benefiting from the program and a leader of the Haitian Support Center, called the decision shocking news. This decision places thousands of Haitian families in immediate fear. Haiti is not safe, and everyone knows it. After the decision, White House advisor Stephen Miller, said Haiti is absolutely a safe country for Haitians.
Joseph Goebbels ass looking mother.
Literally. It'd be crazy for us to say that Haitians couldn't live in Haiti, he said. It's their country.
That you destabilized. What are we talking about? That's why I don't understand when it comes to these people. Like, they're so friggin' gross. They act as if the United States of America has not had a darn going over 200-year mission to destabilize the country of Haiti as much as possible. Every single chance that it gets. Every single chance that they get. All right? Like, these people are being, like, kidnapped. It is not safe. Right? They have a category 4 travel advisory from the State Department on Haiti, right? Basically, they saying, like, if you are an American and you are preparing to go to Haiti, prepare a will also. Like, get your affairs in order, is what they're telling people, right? But you want to send people back there? You know that it's not safe. If it's not safe for an American, all right, it's not safe for them to go back there either. What are we doing? It's disgusting. And then also, what is this actually accomplishing? Because of the fact that when it comes to the immigrant community, all right, whether they have TPS or not, these people are paying into our system. All right. They pay taxes. They go to work. All right. Not only do they go to work, but they also create jobs too. All right. So they provide, all right, and contribute not just socially, but also economically to the United States of America. What is this accomplished? And that's the thing, is that they can never say what they're accomplishing.
Literally.
It's just.
No,
have you heard anything?
No.
Did you hear anything?
No, not in the slightest. Okay. Here's the truth of these deportations or ending of TPS. It is racially motivated. One of the lawyers, Jeffrey Pipoli, the true reason for the termination is the president's racial animus towards non-white immigrants and bare dislike of Haitians in particular. But Alito, listen to this guy, said none of the comments from Trump or the Homeland Security Department were quote unquote, quote, this is what he said, this is his words, overtly racial. And in substance, all expressed policy views that could rest on race-neutral justifications. He literally said overtly. That is wild to me.
Was it covert racism? The undercover shit? What? Hector, keep going.
It gets worse.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
Oh, you're good.
I believe it does.
It's not enough, he said, that political discourse by prominent public figures is increasingly couched in terms that would have scandalized the public just a short time ago. Kagan said the comments from the president are so repellent and racially inflected that Alito declined to repeat them in his opinion, so she included them in her dissent. Shout out to Kagan. The statements fairly shout, in their racial undertones and overtones alike, that race entered into the president's resolve to remove Haitians from this country. Never forget, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Springfield had to come out and say that that was wrong, specifically after 33 bomb threats reached their neighborhoods. The video, the lady who they spearheaded in regards to this fake claim, had to come out and say that she was dead wrong. And she just happened to lose her cat. Not that anyone ate it. The nonsense about beheaded ducks laying around parks. Like, people really let that slide.
Please don't forget that J.D. Vance went on TV and actually said that he made the story up. Because they'll do whatever it takes. He said that.
He did.
Just want to let you all know that. And then also people have to understand that this was said before people went to go vote in November of 2024. All right, so basically people voted for a person that they knew did not fact check information that they received, that believed any and everything that came across their desk. What are you people doing? And then another thing, Hector, is that how do you tell you and a Haitian apart?
It's a great question. It's a great question.
I get called a tether at least 5 times a day.
Yeah, don't give me some.
I'm like, hey, I got a little bit of North Carolina black, which mixed with a lot of Virginia black. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, how do you tell them apart? It's crazy. It's wicked work. And there's so many people that like the Haitian community, and it's also the Syrian community also that this is being done to. So we can't forget about them. And then next up is like going to be the Venezuelans, the Nicaraguans, the Chileans. Like they're going to keep going down the list. All right. And you know what, Hector? You know when they're going to have a problem with it?
When?
Never. Because they're not even going to target the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians that are here on TPS, they're not going to target them.
They're white as hell.
White as fuck. They're not going to target them. So they're never going to have an uproar about this.
Maybe their grandbabies.
But the black and the brown folks, huh?
I said maybe the grandbabies. Maybe their grandbabies, because a lot of their demographics like to come out and get themselves a nice piece of chocolate. Maybe when those grandbabies start to get affected, they'll start to care somewhat. Maybe. It's a reach.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That's gonna be. We'll have to see a few years for that one though. We'll have to see.
There's a video on my profile. I always reference this. There's a video on my profile with one of the Trump supporters when we were going back and forth, and he told me straight up to my face that I don't look like I was born here. Now imagine if a certain Supreme Court ruling allowed DHS and ICE agents, when they're going around terrorizing people, to racially profile you. Imagine someone who looked at me and believes that he can tell my citizenship based off of my appearance, which I don't know what phenotypical aspects I have that looks un-American. I don't know how that works, but okay. Imagine if that person had standards reduced to become an ICE agent. Imagine if he was incentivized by a $50,000 bonus. Imagine if he didn't have to get all the necessary background checks, or the background checks were delayed as I was going through training to be put in the field. Imagine if that person was allowed to mask up to where no one can tell their identity when they're enacting their business. And imagine if, upon killing an American civilian, I would be protected by the entirety of the federal government. That's what y'all welcomed in. I rest my case.
That part. So, yeah, there's that one. We spoke about the asylum ruling that they had, so that the Supreme Court is ruled that I can't recall it, so I can't even talk about it right now. I just had a brain lapse, and I'm ready to talk about birthright citizenship. But pretty much with the asylum case, what I can remember is that they did rule that if you are not on U.S. soil, all right, you cannot file asylum. All right, so those coming at the border, all right, to file asylum, what's going to happen is that CBP that's Customs and Border Protection, all right, they can literally just say, nope, no entering. Yes, metering, Nina. They say no entering. They can stop them at the border, and then they can refuse to let them in. So there's that part.
Not an ounce of sense in that goddamn decision. Not an ounce of freaking sense.
Doesn't make any sense. That was a semantic argument. That's what that was. That was a semantic argument. But birthright citizenship. So saving the best for last, Hector. Okay. All right. So saving the best for last is birthright citizenship, and that one actually caused a little rift between the two black justices, between Ketanji Brown Jackson and Clarence. How soft are my shoes? I don't like him. How soft are my shoes, Thomas? All right, who
How
wrote
soft are my
Tap
shoes,
Dancing?
Thomas?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to hear that. I'm glad you heard it. Take it in, feel it, enjoy it. So, all right. And all right. So here's what's happened. All right. So the Supreme Court, all right, did a 6-3 vote. And surprisingly, the third vote on the dissenting side was Neil Gorsuch. I wasn't expecting him to vote against it, especially due to his advocacy for the indigenous population within the United States of America. So that was very surprising. But Chief Justice Roberts did write the opinion for the majority, while Clarence Thomas wrote a 91-page dissenting opinion. All right. We all know that this stems from Executive Order 14160 that Donald Trump signed his first day back in office on January 20th, 2025. And what that executive order said, it said for federal agencies to deny automatic U.S. citizenship to children born on American soil if neither parent was a citizen or lawful permanent resident. All right. The ACLU actually filed an immediate class action lawsuit, all right, on behalf of a newborn baby that they call Barbara. All right. So that's why the name of this case is Trump v. Barbara. All right. And what Donald Trump actually wanted was that in order to be considered a citizen, at least one parent has to be a U.S. citizen or had to be a lawful permanent resident, meaning that they had to have a green card. And just as a quick sidebar, you guys would also have to think about how the Trump administration has been on a path forward with trying to get rid of legal permanent residency. All right, by doing immense investigations on green card holders, stripping people of their permanent residency status and deporting them. We have to think about what they've been doing. So, I mean, he meant what he meant. He only wanted it to be from people who, had at least one American citizen parent, like Barron. I just want to say that, like Barron.
What was the indigenous
Think
part you
about it.
mentioned?
Oh, so Neil Gorsuch has been a proponent for actually protecting indigenous lands and the indigenous people. That's something that he has fought for throughout his legal career, right? But he actually ruled against the birthright citizenship clause, and it's possible that he did it. I don't know his reasoning because he didn't write anything. I don't know his reasoning for it, but it could be that he sees indigenous people as sovereign, like it was determined, I think, in 1866 with that Civil Rights Act, because indigenous people were basically seen as like sovereign people within the United States of America. And so basically trying to say that doesn't apply to them, but then 1924, when they got their citizenship rights, wouldn't that be overturned?
Yeah.
So I don't know why he ruled the way in which he did. Maybe we'll know one day. Who knows? But with that being said, here's how it shook out. So, Chief Justice Roberts did write in the majority opinion, all right, that our birthright citizenship here in the United States of America, all right, the framers were taking to mind the English common law of jus soli, all right, which is the right of the soil. And he also explicitly tied it to the defeat of the Dred Scott rule. I remember Dred Scott was basically saying that the enslaved, so black folks, were not citizens of the United States of America and should not be counted as such. What he wrote is that children born in the United States to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause. What the Civil Rights Act began, the 14th Amendment and its repudiation of Dred Scott would finish. Right? So, pretty much saying, all right, that if they upheld the text of the 14th Amendment, the jurisdiction thereof. All right. It upheld that. It is what it is. All right. Even in like his concurring opinion, which could also in some instances read like a dissent, Brett Kavanaugh also upheld what Chief Justice Roberts said. All right. He said that Congress could, consistent with the 14th Amendment, amend 14 amend section 1401A or otherwise enact new legislation establishing exceptions, but Congress has not yet done so. The president cannot bypass Congress to write immigration statutes. So, before we go into, the whole Brown Jackson v. Thomas thing, I want to say that Kavanaugh is setting the Republicans up for an okie doke here. Okay? Because here's what he says. He says, all right, is that Congress could enact new legislation establishing exceptions. It's not that easy, son. It's just simply not that easy, okay? All right. The matter is that there are two avenues in which they actually could accomplish this. And I do want to go over those because one, of course, would be a constitutional convention, and only the states can do that. We would have to have 34 states, all right, delegates from 34 different states all agree to call a constitutional convention, right? And then if it were to actually even go through Congress for a constitutional convention, what would happen is that 3/4, so 38 of the states would actually have to ratify it. So we have that part. So that's not going to happen. I just want people to understand that. That's not happening. Okay. The next thing that could happen is that they could do an amendment within Congress. All right. And how that would look is that if they just do it via Congress, all right, it would have to pass both the House and the Senate by a 2/3 majority. All right. And then again, if it's approved by Congress, then what happens is that the states would still have to ratify it with 3/4, all right, of a vote. So 38 states would have to ratify it. That's not going to happen. All right. We haven't had a constitutional convention called in the United States of America in modern history. So it's not going to happen now. The states are not going to get involved like that. So I mean, it's a pipe dream. I did want to play a video, all right, because little Joseph Goebbels over here, all right, seems to think that this shit is possible and it ain't. But he's a nut job. So here we go. If you don't know who this guy is, you got to get up on your political stuff, and because you should know who he is. This is Stephen Miller, okay, guys? Good grief. Here we go. Let's listen to Crazy Pants.
We have people from all over the world, from third world nations that on their own would have never invented the wheel, let alone modern technology, let alone medicine, let alone air travel. And they can just come into the country, have a baby at a hospital, paid for by you and me, and then that baby's automatically a citizen. That baby can sit on a jury when he turns 18 and sit in judgment of you, and sit in judgment of me, and sit in judgment of our loved ones, can decide who our mayors are, our governors are, our presidents are. Citizenship means nothing if it is open to everyone. We have people.
He took the mask all the way off because, his mask has been slipping for a long time, but he just took that bitch all the way off. All right. And yeah, he just took that bitch off. He's talking about white folks, y'all. He's talking about white folks. All right. Some people were like, what, do you think an American created the wheel? I ain't talking about no damn American creating the wheel. Y'all, the fuck y'all talking about? Also, by the way, all right, I'm going to mispronounce it, and I don't feel like doing that right now. Mesopotamia. I'm not going to mispronounce it. Mesopotamia, all right? That's where the wheel was created. That's modern-day Iraq, okay? I want you all to understand that. And to be perfectly honest with you, white folks ain't created shit. Okay, I had to say it, all right? What they have, though, what they have did, they did create the patent system. Okay, the patent system that has allowed them to steal, the intellectual property, creations, inventions, and all that good stuff. All right, from people of color, including Black folks. So we have that. They created that. They did create racism, colonization, imperialism, intervention, all that jazz. They created that, but they ain't create really shit. I just want to let you all know that. Okay. The majority of the things, all right, that you enjoy actually using, all right, has been created by a person of color. All right. And I don't get paid enough to tell you all of those names. So look it up. There's that.
I just wanted to go over a few of innovations from those third world countries that, the United States wasn't able to do first because the United States didn't even exist. We can talk about in Africa specifically. I'm going to do Africa and China. Africa, who created the bow and arrow.
I guess Hector gets paid enough to do it.
See, I don't. I actually don't. I really don't. It's just more so, I don't like it when people say gross shit about folks of color and it's not rebutted. So let's remind everyone, early mathematics came from Africa.
That is true.
Moving on to advanced mathematics as well. The shit that we use in NASA, the shit we use for our medicine, the shit that we use for everything came from Africa. We can also talk about papyrus, and writing. We can talk about iron smelting and complex medicine specifically. And this goes back to 1500 BCE. The Edward Min Papyrus outlines lost wax casting, astronomical calendars. Let's go over to China. The compass, the thing they used to get places long before you had your fucking smartphones, or better yet, the compass used in smartphones that was created by Chinese folks. Paper, gunpowder, movable type printing, mechanical clock, silk. Not bad for third world countries.
Did you mention gunpowder?
I did mention gunpowder.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all love your firearms, right? Well, imagine if you didn't have the gunpowder to shoot people. Y'all really like shooting people. You would at least think you would compliment them for that. So just want to remind everyone, just because the United States stole it and colonized it and called it their own, doesn't mean it didn't start somewhere else. And oftentimes, it wasn't the demographic of people that he wants to have automatic citizenship versus others.
That part.
Fuck Stephen Miller's bald, ugly ass.
And I'm still going to say this, all right? If you want a comprehensive list, all right, of inventions that Black people made, because invention and innovation are different. Those are different words. They have different meanings. So invention and innovation are different. So there's that part. Also, another thing is that for some reason, after the birthright citizenship ruling came down, Donald Trump decided to make a post on True Social. And I don't know why he said this, but he said it. Which one do you think I'm going to put up, Hector? I like playing this game.
Say that again.
He made a post on True Social after the birthright citizenship ruling came down. And it was like, what the fuck is he talking about? Okay, I'll show you.
He made like 4 posts that day.
I'll show you. It's this one right here. I don't know why he said this. Let me make it bigger for y'all so y'all can see it.
I would like to...
Why did he say that?
I would like to congratulate President Xi and the great country of China on their massive birthright citizenship win.
Why did he say that?
I love how it got like no traction. People are like, what? compared to all of his other posts, that only got 123 likes. That's fucking hilarious to me. It's actually kind of funny.
Was he like congratulating him because of Wong Kim Ark? Like, I'm so confused.
Goodness gracious.
Why is he involving the Chinese president in this? President Xi. Like, what? Can Donald Trump not read Roman numerals? Is that what it is? Was like Roman numeral 11 involved some way, somehow? Oh my God, I got to check that out because that has to be it. He doesn't know how to read Roman numerals.
Nope.
So he thought that it was probably something to do with Xi. Oh, that man is dumb. I said it. He's stupid.
Stupido.
Okay, I'm going to have to figure that one out. Oh my gosh. Okay. Trump's stupid. What are we talking about? Okay, guys, but yeah, in more news in regards to the birthright citizenship, all right, the thing is that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson did do a concurring opinion, right? And pretty much hers was like kind of like a direct response to Clarence Thomas's dissenting opinion. Again, his dissenting opinion was 91 pages long, guys. 91 pages.
That man had
right?
time.
And he had all the time. That's probably why they needed an extra day to rule on it, because of him. He was writing his dissenting opinion. All right. And Clarence Colorblind Thomas, all right, because he don't see color, right? For some reason or another, decided to see color in this instance. All right. If you all remember from 2023, the affirmative action case, Clarence said that we shouldn't have any race-based legislation. And that's why he ruled that affirmative action, which was a historical correction to the discrimination that Black people faced, not just in educational institutions, but also in the workplace, right? He said, all right, that we should not have any race-based legislation. But yet, in this instance, when it comes to birthright citizenship, it should be race-based, because he actually argued, all right, that... I'm gonna read this. He argued for a narrow race remedial reading of history, claiming the 14th Amendment was solely intended to ensure freed Black Americans were granted citizenship, and that jurisdiction required permanent domicile/political allegiance. And that's another issue that I have with their argument, is that they keep speaking of an allegiance to a country. Here's the thing. There's so many Americans walking around in the United States of America right now that do not have an allegiance to this country. Yeah, they're citizens. Hi. All right, I have an allegiance to this country. All right, because I don't pledge loyalty to anyone. Even when I was a kid, I did not like doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and then once I learned better, I stopped doing it. I haven't done the Pledge of Allegiance in over 20 years. Because I don't pledge allegiance to this country. All right. I sets the fuck down. Okay. So, anywho, with that being said, what he wrote is that the court today takes the extraordinary step of holding facially unconstitutional the president's order, because it is. In doing so, the court adds to the sad history of the 14th Amendment, which was designed and understood to secure equal rights for the freed Blacks, but has instead been repurposed for political projects that the Reconstruction Congress did not support. The fuck does that mean? The sad history of it? The history of this amendment has always been upheld, is what it is. All right, because the framers even argued on the Congress floor in the Senate. All right. The question that was asked was whether those born to Chinese nationals are U.S. citizens. All right. And the answer was a resounding yes, because they were born on U.S. soil. That's what it is. And then when you read Kavanaugh's opinion, what you'll see is that he links the framers' reasoning and reasoning for keeping the broad interpretation of it as being based again on British common law of jus soli. That's what it is. All right. And again, I said British common law, guys. We're not talking about what Great Britain has in place right now, before anyone tries to correct me again. I don't like that, because I know what I said. So with that being said, all right, Justice Brown Jackson actually did retort, and she targeted his logic. She noted that while free slaves were the historical catalyst, all right, meaning that they were the reason that this discussion came about, all right, the freedmen were not the only reason as to why this was done. At that time, again, we also had an influx of Chinese nationals in the country that had to be contended with. Also, another thing is that we had the Irish and the Scottish. All right. Also the Italians. Okay. Don't forget, guys. Don't forget that especially the Italians were not considered white at that time. They just weren't. So with that being said, what she mentioned was that the Reconstruction framers, all right, those who came up with this law, deliberately chose broad, colorblind, and universal language, all right, referring to all persons born. And they did so to precisely prevent future executives from stripping citizenship from disfavored groups. I want y'all to think about that, because what it is that in my opinion, and how I interpret it, and this is just my opinion, is that if they would have granted this to Donald Trump, it would have been a pathway for them to unilaterally, again, that word, to unilaterally be able to determine who and who isn't a citizen and who they can and cannot revoke citizenship from. And that's what I have an issue with. All right. They always say that these things are like proactive, so they only apply to the future. They never go back. But I think that's BS, because with the law, you can make the law retroactive.
Yep.
All right. And what if they retroactively decided, okay, you know what, black folks, time's up. You're not citizens anymore. All right. You're not. You're not. I do also think that this goes into a broader conversation, and I will discuss that in just a moment. But I do want to read Justice Brown Jackson's one of her dissenting opinions, and I'll pass it to you. Not dissenting, but concurring opinions, and then I'll pass it to you, Hector. She did note that despite his long-standing endorsement of a colorblind constitution, Justice Thomas now surprisingly suggests that the citizenship clause was a race-conscious remedial measure, to argue that an amendment designed to expand the horizon of human dignity and permanently secure a baseline status based on geography can be inverted to create an underclass of disenfranchised, stateless children is a profound misreading of the Reconstruction Project. And I agree. I said I was going to pass it back to him, and he done left. I swear to God. All right. So, with that being said, guys, all right, she said a mouthful. All right. First of all, I do love how she called him out for his BS, his hypocrisy. Again, Thomas, when making his decision in regards to the case against Harvard, so against affirmative action back in 2023, all right, he legitimately used the 14th Amendment and said that states cannot make any type of policy, and these institutions can not enact any type of policy that would prefer one race over another. But yet in this instance, when it comes to citizenship, you want to point out race. Also, all right, this is not a equal protections type of deal, by the way, because this is something that is federal. This is a part of the actual Constitution. The states are not deciding who, in fact, is a citizen. All right, that is actually United States law, who decides a citizen is, because per our Constitution, which is the law of the land, all right, you just have to be born within the jurisdiction thereof. So just solely on our soil, you're a citizen. So that's why I don't understand why Thomas actually makes reference to the 14th Amendment in the way in which he does, not the citizenship clause, but the equal protection clause. That doesn't make any sense. Now, with that being said, all right, this does go back to a broader issue. When you look at the bigger picture, it is about them being able to control who votes and who doesn't vote, right? Because we know that a lot of people that do come here undocumented, they're not white. They're not white folks, guys. So they don't get to benefit from the privilege of this system. They're typically black and brown people. All right. And black and brown people have a tendency historically to vote democratically. All right. So they vote on the Democratic side of the house. They don't want that. So their thing is that if we can reduce or even put a full stop to immigration, we'll just simply have the population in which we have right now that'll be able to participate in the electoral process. All right. And what we have right now is we have an electorate that surprisingly is leaning more right by the day. All right. We saw that when we saw gangs in the black male vote when it came to voting for Donald Trump in 2024. And we've also saw it with the Hispanic Latino male vote in 2024 when voting for Donald Trump and how much that went up by. So I honestly think that they just want to have the demographic that they have right now, and they just want to expand on it. They're not going to be able to do that if they feel that they're having an influx, all right, of people who will one day be able to vote and not vote for them. One last thing here, because you left, Hector. I was going to give it back to you, but you left. All right. So that's your fault. So I'm still talking. All right. So the other part of that is that if something doesn't matter, right? And I have a conflict with this internally myself because of like the things I believe and I don't believe, so on and so forth, just to be transparent as possible with it. But if something doesn't matter to someone, would they continuously try to take it away from you? Right? Like, if that bitch didn't want your man, all right, would she constantly be smiling in his face? No. She not friendly. She's plotting. Okay? All right? Another thing, all right? If that person didn't want your chain, your necklace, right? All right? Would they keep trying to take it from you? All right. Would they keep looking at it and saying how nice it is, how they want one just like it, and then all of a sudden that bitch end up missing? That part. So like, guys, if it wasn't important, if the vote wasn't important, especially the black vote, right, they wouldn't continuously try to take it away from us. Okay. We have to think about how that even when President Obama ran for president, right? I believe it was the 2012 vote. Even when President Obama ran for president, he didn't get the majority white vote. He didn't. He got in a second time because of the black vote. I want us to understand that, because of the black vote, because we participated in the voting process, all right? That is how Obama got a second term. We need to understand that. That shows how powerful our vote truly is. And then another thing is that we can see that right after 2012 and 2013, what did they do? They stripped down the Voting Rights Act. They took away the pre-clearance provision out of Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. And the reason why is because they said, haven't we done enough for you people? The racism of yesteryear is not the racism of today, right? And has Congress come up with a new calculation for the pre-clearance to determine whether or not, all right, these places are actually engaging in racial gerrymandering, or if they're engaging in racist practices? Nope, they haven't. And they refuse to pass any legislation that actually will address it, such as the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. So we have that. So again, if your vote wasn't important, because your vote determines your state's representatives. Your state's representatives are the ones who are on these different boards that get to determine how much money your district gets for things like education, all right, for these after-school programs, all right, these community-based initiatives. We have to understand that, like, how much money goes into your neighborhood is determined by the district in which you live in. Your district is controlled by your House of Representative, your congressman or congresswoman. All right. So it matters, y'all. It matters. You think they would crack and pack and stack these maps, these districts, right? This vote, if it didn't matter? It matters. So I think that we have to be cognizant of that and actually just and get out and vote. And I think that the black vote is something that they're definitely afraid of. And they're going to keep trying to take it away from us. So don't let them convince you that your vote doesn't matter, because it does. All right. And until y'all are ready to die for the revolution, get your ass up off the couch and go vote. That's all I got.
No notes. I don't really have much to add to that. I did want to make a quick comment in regards to Long K Mark and the growing concern of birth tourism, which no one's denying that's not a real thing. The problem that I have with that,
it's a real thing, but is it a real problem?
No, it's not. Chinese nationals coming over here, people having their children here. It's for better education. It's for their access to capitalism, their access to growing their family's wealth, their family's businesses. That's literally why we invite people to come here, is to participate in our society, to benefit Americans, to grow your wealth, live the American dream, regardless of race. Stephen Miller's citizenship comments were insane, because it just lays the groundwork to determine what makes you a patriot, to determine what makes you a citizen. One of those things being, if you have any relation to another country, that's kind of insane. It's absolutely batshit. The average person who's born here in the United States is no more patriotic than someone else just for being born here. We don't choose that. Your definition of patriotism is significantly flawed, because folks born here hate shit here. We have every right to. Yeah. We have a right under the First Amendment to speak out against the government. So it doesn't track. It doesn't track at all, because then they can say, oh, this person isn't patriotic enough, regardless of whether you came here or you were born here. Is this now laying the groundwork to say you're not a citizen if you don't respect this, if you don't support this?
Exactly.
That's literally what they were exploring last year, and it went quiet because of the outrage that even Republicans gave when they explored the idea of denaturalizing someone who committed certain crimes.
That's wicked.
Wicked work. Wicked work. Mind you, this wasn't rhetoric. This wasn't the Democrats thing came up with. Came out of his mouth. The administration was exploring ways to denaturalize you if you commit certain offenses. And how are we going to throw our own people somewhere else? Where are they going to go? Who going to take them?
That part.
Especially after you run off of, especially after you run off of all these other institutions throwing their people here, we'd be doing the same thing. That was a lie, by the way, but True. Go ahead.
But just yesterday, after, of course, the ruling came down, a memo went out to the Department of Justice, all right, that directed federal prosecutors to prioritize investigations of so-called birth tourism. All right. So what a spokesman said, and let me make sure I get their name, is Colin McDonald. All right. He told employees in a memo that people who come to the United States under false pretenses to give birth and secure citizenship for their child could be criminally charged under laws barring visa fraud, money laundering, identity theft, and wire fraud. The Department of Justice will zealously protect the sanctity of United States citizenship by investigating and prosecuting those who fraudulently exploit our immigration system. That's what he said.
Wow.
So they're going to keep focusing on this. Of course, this is being read from Reuters, by the way. And so they're going to keep focusing on it. And the thing, again, is that with the Congress that we have right now, they're not going to do an amendment to this.
No.
A constitutional convention is definitely not happening, because the states are not going to get involved in that way. All right. The delegates just aren't going to do that. And then on the other side of that, in Congress itself, to get 2/3 of the vote for the House and for the Senate to actually go to the states for ratification, forget about it. That's not happening. So they try as they might, just continue to waste taxpayer money on this nonsense. All right. And again, none of them can tell us what the negatives are, because when they mention benefits, that is completely disproven. So we disprove that. All right. And then when they say, oh, it's about preserving our culture, what culture? What's culture? Because per our understanding, all right, the framers of the Declaration of Independence and also the Constitution, even though I can't stand referencing these people sometimes, all right, they actually talked about, our founders talked about basically how this was a melting pot, and that has been expanded to actually be more so like a salad, where people get to come in and put their different pieces of their culture in it, and we all mix it together. So that's the United States of America. All right. On one hand, these people will say this country was built by immigrants. It was built by the immigrants. My great grandfather, they came from Ireland and they built this country. They'll say shit like that and then turn around and say, well, we shouldn't have immigrants here. I don't understand your hypocrisy. It's not for me to understand. I don't understand.
There is I'm sure you've noticed this. There's a growing number of white people, and you've seen it time and time again, specifically when we ask them, what is their race? And then they'll say, I'm Scottish, I'm this, I'm that. That's not race. And they'll say, my family were immigrants too, as if to water down their rhetoric against other immigrants, so on and so forth. But there's a lot more people running from their race, specifically white people. I think it's the funniest shit ever. It's okay to be white, by the way. It's okay to be white. Also,
hey, don't take my line. I was going to say that. It's okay to be white. That's my line.
But they say this stuff, and then, again, they'll use their immigrant background to say, yes, this country is a melting pot. My folks came over this and that. Now we want to pull the ladder up. Now we want to be exclusionary. And then you have the likes of Hexet saying diversity is not our strength. It is a literal weakness. That is the complete opposite of what made America the capitalist hellhole it is today. But one of the things that made other people see it as great. So y'all want to make America great again, make it a melting pot again.
Can I put my toe in the soapbox before we get up out of here?
Put your toe in the soapbox. I only have a video clip to play at the end.
You might join in. All right, because I've been paying attention to like the comment section and stuff. And you know what's like crazy to me is that when hit dogs holler. All right, white people who claim to like understand certain things, right? All right, and who claim to like they recognize that racism happens and that we have systemic and systematic injustices that occur, the disparities and all that jazz, right? That happens, right? Bruh. But as soon as you start talking about like racism and you start talking about not shit that they've said, all right, just talking about other white people and what they have said, what they have done, like, can we all think they start with the can we all just get along? Like, can we all just get along? Can we all like don't we just want to live in peace? I'm sorry, there's not going to be any peace as long as we have a system of white supremacy, and calling that out and making note of it, that's not a problem. Like, that's not a me problem. That's going to be a you problem, something that you have to like unpack and deconstruct within yourself, because why does that make you like offended?
Literally, you want to know how offended I made someone? How offended we made someone? Somebody said,
how?
You go to bed when I say boy," over on the YouTube.
What?
You go to bed when I say boy. Wild.
What?
I love pissing racists off. It's funny.
Me too. It's fun. I ain't gonna hold you. It's one of my greatest pastimes.
Y'all go to bed thinking about this. So it's crazy.
Yes. Seriously. Calling out racism and discussing racism is not racism. It is not hate. Okay? It's not. All right. And then also, you can't say that you respect the Constitution. All right. If you can't respect someone saying that they, as a citizen, they do not have an allegiance to this country. Mm-hmm. That part exactly. I'm going to have to read this comment. They don't want us to get along. They want us to go along. Mm-hmm. They want us to be go along to get along. That's all they want us to do. They don't want us to say anything about what's happening. Just take it. Literally. Just take it. Mm-hmm. I mean, haven't we done enough for you people?
Interesting. Yeah. I just had one thing, because I don't want to get too much into the comments. I saw an interesting one, which I'm like, who the fuck cares? But I want to play this last thing, and it's actually an ad. If you guys didn't see it, there was a recent ad that was put out for the Democratic Socialists of America, and I want to play this ad for you guys. It's really great. It's a really great ad. Not that one. That's hold on. Where's my thing? Here we go. Here's the ad that just recently was put out for the Democratic Socialists of America. I approve most of that message.
I support it.
I approve this message.
Like, that was a good ad. I bet he didn't know when he was up there speaking that he was actually doing an ad for the DSA.
Literally.
That was awesome.
All they have to do is like take out the gaps and stuff, just compile all the things, and just at the end, I approve this message. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. I didn't hear anything wrong. So there's that.
It's how they take it, what they think it means. We're still going back and forth with folks about the whole defund aspect of it, and it's like, oh my gosh, whatever, bro. People ain't gonna get what they refuse not to get.
That part.
That's all it is.
Fair.
But on that note,
fair enough. You ready to blow this joint?
Ready to blow this joint. I greatly appreciate every last one of you for showing up for episode 26 of the Fun and Facts Show. Hopefully it was fun, and I very much hope that you guys enjoyed all the facts that we shared today. WCU guys, thank you so much for being here. Of course, make sure you're doing all the good things on your way out, which is hitting the like button. Of course, follow all of us, send your heartbeats, and there's going to be links in the bio that take you to all the other great ways to support us, which is following us on all social media mediums that we are on top of course, checking out our shops, donating to the links in the bio, and doing all the other good things. We appreciate doing this with y'all. I do have 3 thank yous to read really quickly. Shout out to Tremav for the $5 super chat. Well, apparently safe for Haitian means something very different than safe for Americans. Clearly. The standards of living that the Trump administration utilizes for places like DC that was overrun by crime until he showed up there means nothing to other countries where their government even participates in eating them, which I guess we do the same thing here. Yeah. Thank you so much, Tremav. W's to Wesley for the $2 super chat. Donald Trump is functionally illiterate. If you guys all know what illiterate means and you listen to him read, yes, like that's not even that. I don't think that's a high point of contention. Seriously, go look up the compilations of Donald Trump reading. Not only is he bad at it, but it's word salad. The same thing they criticize Harris for. Insane.
He's really bad at it, though.
So bad at it. And to Angie, thank you so much for the 3 on Venmo. Hey, love today's information. I'm trying to place an order. Keep saying error. Help, please. I will look into that, Angie. If you don't mind sending me a screenshot, if you're in my Discord, do it there. But if you're on here, please send me a screenshot of the error message that you're getting, because I'm not sure why that's happening, and I'll see if I can resolve that on my shop. That's weird. I've never had that happen before. But yeah, that's what I got there.
That's it? Okay. Yes. All right. I just want to thank you all for being here today, and also shout out to Jeffrey. Hey, Jeffrey. Jeffrey sent 10 and said, if birthright was overturned, the only thing holding back the admin from making the EO retroactive is a 5-minute conversation in the Oval Office. Exactly. We came this close to having our family trees turn into deportation maps. Talking about Latinos looking at you. He said Latinos looking at you. I'm just saying that is very true. And because if they upheld the executive order, again, what makes you think that he wouldn't do another executive order, backdating that shit? That's what retroactive means, all right? All right? Making it an effective date in the past. So come on, guys. I don't want people to be so is this mean to say simple-minded?
No.
Obtuse maybe the word, but don't be so obtuse to think that this stuff won't touch you. Okay, all right. First they came. Leonard Niemöller, I hope I pronounced his name correctly. It's a poem that he wrote. Holocaust survivor. I think you all should read it. There's that.
Sorry, YouTube. I forgot to fix the sound so they can hear the clip, but it was Mike Johnson talking about the DSA platform. And I said that alone could be the ad. I just posted a link in the YouTube chat. And of course, I will always post this in the live chat over on the YouTube, which I just put there. My bad on that. We got to get that whole audio writing fixed. It's a whole nother thing. That being said, guys, thank you so much for being here. Erica, when are you going live?
At 3:45, so about 30 minutes. You want to battle? You can say no.
I couldn't even get these people to get up to 100,000 likes.
Me neither. I only had 93.
That makes no sense to me. I don't know if I
Kristen
trust these
said
folks.
yes on my end.
We'll do a vote.
I'm scared, actually.
We'll let the people
You're doing
decide.
a vote on your end?
Yeah, I'll end it on YouTube. And then
Okay.
we're gonna do a vote. YouTube, thank you guys so much for being here. We will see y'all next Wednesday afternoon for episode 27 of the Fun and Fact Show, where as always Trump will give us more than enough information to cover. Big W's to you guys, and I'll catch y'all for the next stream. Erica will be live in roughly 30 something minutes. I'll co-host with her for a little bit after I get done with the gym. So make sure you tune in for that, and I'll